All right, everyone. So here is the next phase of this. I just wanted to show you all that we are going to do some work. We're going to start crossover, but technically we're going to start tomorrow because we got to do something with this poem by Amanda Gorman. If you haven't watched it and you haven't seen it, then today's your day for a real treat. So the reason why we're doing this is because really we're about to read The Crossover. And this is a book that's a one gigantic poem. Well, actually, I take it back. It's a bunch of small poems put together to create a larger story. So what we need to do is we need to listen to this amazing young woman and her poem that she recited at the inauguration. And what I want to do is have you listen to it, follow along with me, and then you're going to do a little bit of work to add on to the discussion response. So you have two things in the discussion today. One is write sentences for the first video. This is the second video. You're just going to do a little bit of thinking about this poem. Okay? So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to show the script up here, and then we're going to listen to her. I know that video doesn't work, but you can hear it. So you're going to listen to her speech, to her poem as we follow along. So, okay, here we go. I'm going to play this.
Mr. President, Dr. Biden, Vice President, Mr. Emhoff,
okay, here we go.
Americans, and the world.
Here we go.
When day comes, we ask ourselves, where can we find light in this never-ending shade? The loss we carry, a sea we must wade. We've braved the belly of the beast. We've learned that quiet isn't always peace. In the norms and notions of what just isn't always just is.
Cool line.
And yet the dawn is hours before we knew it. Somehow we do it. Somehow we've weathered and witnessed a nation that isn't broken, but simply unfinished. We, the successors of a country and a time where a skinny Black girl descended from slaves and raised by a single mother can dream of becoming president, only to find herself reciting for one. And yes, we are far from polished, far from pristine, but that doesn't mean we are striving to form a union that is perfect. We are striving to forge our union with purpose, to compose a country committed to all cultures, colors, characters, and conditions of man. And so we lift our gazes not to what stands between us, but what stands before us. We close the divide because we know to put our future first. We must first put our differences aside. We lay down our arms so we can reach out our arms to one another. We seek harm to none and harmony for all. Let the globe, if nothing else, say this is true. That even as we grieved, we grew, that even as we hurt, we hoped, that even as we tired, we tried, that we'll forever be tied together, victorious, not because we will never again know defeat, but because we will never again sow division. Scripture tells us to envision that everyone shall sit under their own vine and fig tree, and no one shall make them afraid. If we're to live up to our own time, then victory won't lie in the blade, but in all the bridges we've made. That is the promised glade, the hill we climb, if only we dare it, because being American is more than a pride we inherit. It's the past we step into and how we repair it. We've seen a force that would shatter our nation rather than share it, would destroy our country if it meant delaying democracy. And this effort very nearly succeeded. But while democracy can be periodically delayed, it can never be permanently defeated. In this truth, in this faith we trust, for while we have our eyes on the future, history has its eyes on us. This is the era of just redemption. We feared it at its inception. We did not feel prepared to be the heirs of such a terrifying hour, but within it we found the power to author a new chapter, to offer hope and laughter to ourselves. So while once we asked, How could we possibly prevail over catastrophe? Now we assert. How could catastrophe possibly prevail over us? We will not march back to what was, but move to what shall be, a country that is bruised but whole, benevolent but bold, fierce and free. We will not be turned around or interrupted by intimidation, because we know our inaction and inertia will be the inheritance of the next generation. Our blunders become their burdens. But one thing is certain: if we merge mercy with might and might with right, then love becomes our legacy and change our children's birthright. So let us leave behind a country better than the one we were left. With every breath from my bronze pounded chest, we will raise this wounded world into a wondrous one. We will rise from the gold-limbed hills of the West. We will rise from the windswept Northeast, where our forefathers first realized revolution. We will rise from the lake-rimmed cities of the Midwestern states. We will rise from the sun-baked South. We will rebuild, reconcile, and recover in every known nook of our nation, in every corner called our country. Our people, diverse and beautiful, will emerge battered and beautiful. When day comes, we step out of the shade of flame and unafraid. The new dawn blooms as we free it. For there is always light, if only we're brave enough to see it, if only we're brave enough to be it.
All right. Pretty powerful stuff. Wow. That was and I really am amazed by the fact that this woman is 23 and she put that together pretty quick. Like, that is a poem. If you think about it, she's referencing the riots on the Capitol. That means she really put it together in under 2 weeks. That's a published worthy poem. So here's second thing I want you to do is we lead in the crossover, which is poetry. The second assignment will be to do this. After listening to and reading Amanda Gorman's The Hill We Climb, and I'll give you the text to look at again, what technique or strategy do you notice her doing in her poem? Explain your thinking in 2 to 3 sentences. What I mean is, we've talked about what authors do, the author's craft, right? We talked about alliteration, metaphor, similes, onomatopoeia, personification, word choice, write what you know, right? What are things that she's doing? I want you to try to think about, what did you see her doing? What stuck out? And the last thing is, I want you to pick out at least one phrase that hit you. Something that affected you. They're like, whoa, that was cool, because I got a bunch. So that's what I want you to do, okay? So that's what your second post will be. So you'll have your discussion post, and then you'll have like a reply to your own discussion post. You have 2 things for today. Okay, that's your work for today. Tomorrow we start reading the book. All right, take care.